in Seattle. I hope you guys doing what you're supposed to be, being supposed to be. I got a good show for y'all. A lot to talk about. Kareem the Dream, keep up with everything.
Get your entertainment news with Kareem on the Traffic Jam, Thursday at 4 p.m.
So my doctor told me to go online to check my test results, but I didn't know how to do that. Thankfully, I could turn to Link to Care WA for help. With Link to Care WA, I was able to learn how to use online health portals, use telehealth to talk to my doctor virtually, and manage my prescriptions online. I called the hotline and spoke to a real person who taught me the skills I needed. Call Link to Care WA at 866-757-1832 or visit linktocarewa.org.
Tune in to Real Estate and Money every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3 here on RainierAvenueRadio.world. Join your hosts Violetta Strash with John L. Scott Kent North and Tina Lombard with Guaranteed Rate Affinity. They'll help you navigate the waters of our volatile real estate market and offer you some guidance on how to make your hard-earned money work to make your dreams come true. Learn about current trends, get tips on financial matters, and have fun, interactive discussions about your home inside and out. That's Real Estate and Money.
Are your kids eligible for or enrolled in Apple Health Medicaid insurance? Bring them to a free dental clinic in Skyway this fall. Public Health Seattle and King County is hosting free dental clinics for kids 12 and under at the Skyway Resource Center one Saturday per month, now until December. Visit kingcounty.gov/ABCD for more information. Again, that's kingcounty.gov/ABCD for free dental clinics for kids.
Rainier Avenue Radio. Rainier Avenue Radio.
All right, here we go. It is movement, yes, movement. That is Bob Marley, movement of the people, Exodus. All right, and well, we are moving. We got a lot of things going on today in Seattle sports. Yay, Seattle is becoming a sports town again. I mean, I can equate back to the 90s. I'm not getting nostalgic here, but yes, I am. Back to when a lot of things were happening, and if you were a sportscaster or a fan, whether you were deep into Seattle sports or just, as I said, casual fan, then there was a lot of choices just because the teams were doing well and with their games and doing well. So, what's happening this week? I mean, today, let's go with Seattle Storm got a big game, do or die, and more on that later. Mariners are back in action, and half a game. They have half a game up on the Astros for the AL West, and they got a chance to win. So we will we'll talk a little bit more about that. Seahawks won yesterday. Pretty gutty win on the road. I didn't think they were kind of going to win it, but they did. So we'll hear more, talk a little bit more about that with Ethan McReynolds. And what else? Sounders, they tied the Galaxy. That wasn't so good. And but you know what? They got a big game today. rematch with Inter Miami. You know, remember Leagues Cup 3-0 win, and then the tit for tat. It's more than handbags in English soccer. They call it. I gotta talk to Ethan about that a little bit. Handbags, but it wasn't a lot of shoving going on. So they have a rematch today. I like the fact that Sergio Busquets, the Miami coach, said, "Hey, we're moving on. It's not a rematch, and hopefully it is just another game, right? Wink, wink." But it's just a lot. It's just a lot going on, and just glad to be with you all. And thank you all for tuning in. And we're going to talk sports. And so, you know, the thing about this business is that to be good, you have to be driven, right? And you have to have an ego, right? Somewhat, right? In other words, let me go back. So you have to have a thick skin, and you have to have a thick skin. You know, you border on that whole concept of, you know, unstoppable. I can do anything. And so that's, you know, that's the makeup of this business. And the unfortunate thing is that then what happens is a lot of the people in the broadcast industry tend to have an ego that's over excessively. So there is a few in this in this medium in broadcast that are both talented and also a really, really good person. You know, I mean, they understand the balance of life, and our guest coming up is one of those. I mean, just not only is he good at what he does, but he's just has 2 feet on the ground, and is very humble, a good guy, and gets it. And so, um, you know, and so actually, he was a good guy until I figured out that you know, he's from Bothell, so yeah, he's home. Went to Gonzaga, got a broadcast degree. And the thing about being a Liverpool fan, you know, I'm not so sure about all that. But either way, you know, he follows English Premier League, and I'm just honored to have him as a guest. Ethan McReynolds, one of the good guys and one of the best guys in broadcast. Ethan, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Maz. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I had my doubts when I found you out you were a United fan as well. So it goes both ways. I appreciate the introduction.
All good, all good, my brother. Shoot, it's just I feel like a kid in a candy store with you, just you know, following your great coverage on Fox 13, and he's, you know, on the Sideline podcast. How's that going?
Yeah, the podcast has been incredible. We started at the end of February,
And I'm gonna get
and yeah,
Ethan. I'll ask him again. So he's got a on the Sideline podcast, and then as I said, he covers Seattle sports. So how's the podcast going?
yeah, the podcast is incredible. You know, we're doing once a week now, Wednesdays, with football season going, and it's just been a lot of fun. Like, you know, I hope you guys can still hear me, but yeah, the it's you know, working with DJack has been fantastic. Our coworker at Fox 13. And yeah, you know, it's just talking Seattle sports. I mean, you know, Maz mentioned it at the start. You know, being home and talking about all the teams that I grew up rooting for. You know, the Mariners. You know, I grew up through the dark times. You know, I was born in 1999, so I don't even remember their playoff run in 2001. And so, you know, Cal Raleigh breaking the drought was a really big thing for me and my sports fandom. You know, the Seahawks, my first year rooting for the Seahawks, 2005 in the Super Bowl. So, you know, being able to be back here, having rooted for these teams my entire life is just really full circle. And it's a really exciting time right now in Seattle sports. We talk about it on the podcast, but the Seahawks sort of reallocating their resources, I would say, coming into this season, something that we had talked on the podcast, I thought really needed to happen in the off season. And, the Mariners, I mean, man, how about those Seattle Mariners? 9 straight wins. Moss mentioned it, you mentioned it at the top of the show, a half game up in the division. I wasn't sure if they were going to catch the Astros. A lot of people were optimistic, about the Mariners catching the Astros at the beginning of the month, or not the beginning of the month, right after the trade deadline. But then they go on that run on the road where they just can't do anything. And so, there were a lot of doubts, but they've really gotten things back together. And, just being home, talking Seattle sports once a week. I mean, it's a dream come true. And I've been, grateful for every step of the way.
Yeah, thank you. I'm having some technical difficulties, and as a professional, you just gave us the information. What was the key? I mean, what is going on with this team?
You're talking Seahawks now?
The Mariners. We'll finish off on the Mariners, and then we'll get to the Seahawks and then the win.
Yeah, Mariners. The thing that I look at.
What was the key? In terms of that homestand.
Yeah, Gary Hill tweeted this out the other day. It was the Mariners bullpen during their 9-game winning streak, a .24 ERA, just the one earned run over 38 innings pitched. And, I mean, we've talked about it all season, how this team is built on their pitching, and it hasn't really – they, haven't been carrying this team so far. It's really the starting pitching that we've been needing to see turn around, and they, the starters have just been absolutely incredible during this stretch. Over the 9-game winning streak, top 10 in the league in that stretch with a 3.24 ERA, and they're striking dudes out at a ridiculous rate, at 12.78 K per 9, which leads all of baseball during those 9 games. So they're getting contributions from the pitching staff, and the bullpen is really stepping up as well.
And now, the hitting, obviously, the man behind the plate is having, a historical year. How has that contributed to other players and his leadership in terms of hitting? And, they made some midseason acquisition, obviously, during the trade line.
Yeah, I think Cal, in just his leadership in the big moment of staying composed and not getting outside of himself. I think there's been a lot of discussion around Julio Rodriguez throughout his entire tenure. And, he is one of the big reasons offensively why this team is firing on all cylinders right now. But you look in big moments, and Julio's one of the guys where he sort of leaves a little bit to be desired in those big moments. I feel like maybe he feels the pressure a little bit more. He gets a little bit of outside of himself, tries to do a little bit too much. Cal's one of those guys that stays composed, and just having his bat in the lineup. I mean, guys are working around him. So you get to the middle of the lineup with Julio, who's just incredible. Josh Naylor, who, I mean, man, talk about coming up in big moments. Who else would you rather have than Josh Naylor up in a big moment? But Cal Raleigh's getting on base because they don't want to throw him anything, right? Like, how many times in those extra inning wins, the 2 against the Angels, or one again, the back-to-back ones the Mariners just had over the winning streak, they're intentionally walking Cal Raleigh because they don't want him up in those situations. And now you have the bats in the lineup behind him, the Julio Rodriguez, the Josh Naylors, the Eugenio Suarez. Jorge Polanco has been absolutely incredible, just smoking extra base hits. You've got guys on base for them because they're so dangerous, 1 through 9.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's switch because you were on a business trip this weekend. And how was that? How was the travel? Obviously good, but take us through the atmosphere, and then you can just and then the game itself.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was my first time getting to actually report on the Seahawks on site, so that was really exciting. I talked about it. I'm a lifelong Seahawks fan. I've followed this team my entire life, so to be able to cover them and bring the just Seattle coverage that I've been consuming my entire life, it was a full circle moment for sure. with the game, it was really interesting seeing Spoon being doubtful coming in. I was definitely nervous. It was a game I had picked the Seahawks to win, but I definitely thought I wouldn't have been surprised at all if they'd lost. And then I saw that Spoon was officially inactive. Like, I don't feel as good about this. How are they going to replace him just because he does so many things for Mike McDonald's defense? But I feel like that was really the story of the game. Was it wasn't one guy stepping up to fill Spoon's role. It was a collective coming up to replace his production. You look at, in the secondary, and I don't think it started with the secondary, but Darion Kendrick coming up with the interception. Reek Woolen having a great bounce back game. That huge run or the catch that Jalen Warren broke out, get down to the goal line. The play before Darion Kendrick makes the interception, it's Reek Woolen who hustles down and saves the touchdown there. The game is completely different if Reek doesn't make that tackle. Mike McDonald was very complimentary of him after the game. And Josh Jobe continues to play great this season. And then in the defensive front, which I think was the most important part of this game, because before you can even get to the secondary, before Aaron Rodgers can even blink, you've got Byron Murphy in his lap. You've got Jaron Reed with the sack. You got Leonard Williams in his lap. Boye Mafe with a couple of pressures. Byron Murphy, 5 pressures, by the way, on top of the 1.5 sacks. He was absolutely incredible. So defensively, it was a group effort. It was all 11 guys on the field, just making it happen for the Seahawks.
I mean, just staying with that front. I mean, just what did you see in terms, I would say, like how they were in sync? Because to contain a Aaron Rodgers, you have to stay disciplined in your pass rush lanes, put enough pressure, contain him, and then make him feel uncomfortable. What did you see in how they were disciplined in that pass?
It's a good question. I think the guys that I mentioned, I mean, those are a lot of interior pass rushers, right? So, you're getting a lot of pressure in his face. He's not able to step up and then deliver those missiles that he's known for. The Seahawks defensive front was in his grill the entire game. And you could tell, he's when quarterbacks are feeling pressure, you can tell they're a little bit skittish in the pocket. They're just not as comfortable. And you saw that all game. And the best part, and Brian Nemhauser, Hawkblogger, put this out, the Seahawks are getting pressure with 80% or sending 4. I have the tweet. And I lost it. But the Seahawks are getting pressure with 4-man rushes, which I think is the most important part. You don't have to take away from the secondary to come and get pressure. You're getting pressure with your base 4-man rush. That makes it hard for any quarterback because not only are they having to avoid the rush and figure out their protection, just trying to get 4 guys, but you've got an extra guy in the secondary. You're not needing to sacrifice your secondary coverage to go in and pressure an Aaron Rodgers. So he looked uncomfortable all day. It was obvious with the lack of production in the pass game. I mean, the Steelers offense just over 250 yards of offense, and a lot of that coming with under 3-4 minutes to go when the game was already pretty much decided.
And I would say one player, well, the linebackers, Ernest Jones, to me, probably is the unsung hero, would you say, but the energy that he brought, and Tyree Snipe, they were both the 2 top, tacklers of the game. What did you see from that combo, the Batman and Robin, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Ernest Jones is always incredible. His leadership on that Mike McDonald defense. And, Tyrese Knight, that's one guy that also stood out to me. He made a lot of really important open field tackles with some of those Aaron Rodgers checkdowns, him coming from the center of the field, racing over to the sideline and making a one-on-one tackle, preventing a lot of yards after catch. I thought Tyrese Knight played really, really well. I'm not the biggest X's and O guys on the NFL side of the ball, but Tyrese Knight's a guy that flashed off the field for me. And it was a really big week for him because Mike McDonald talked about through the week how he was in a competition with Drake Thomas, and he was sort of opening that up, which is not something that I had anticipated after the year he had last year and taken over for Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dodson. He battled some health issues throughout training camp, so it was really important for him to come up with a big game, and that's just what he did. I feel like the Seahawks are pretty thin at linebacker behind Jones and Tyrese Knight, so they need those guys to be nails. And we saw how important that linebacker position is for Mike McDonald's defense, not having the good play at that position last season, and then now having it with Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight.
And he really has. D-Money, can we play the video there? Because he talks about non-negotiable in terms of effort and playing. And let me see if we can get that video.
As I'm listening to your question, I'm thinking about how many penalty yards we had last year, and me saying it was an overrated thing to a certain extent. I still feel the same way. Now, there, like you said, we have a spectrum on how we treat penalties here. There's cost of doing business penalties, where we're living on the edge, and some things happen, and then there's some selfish penalties that we want to avoid as much as possible. So, fortunately, I think we're limiting the selfish ones right now, which is what we need to continue. So what goes into it, I'm not really sure. I mean, you got to understand the rules. You got to coach it. You got to coach those situations that you're going to end up in. There's discipline involved. I think there's a connection that's required for us to play together. I don't know. Hopefully that's a good enough answer. I don't know. I wish I had the secret answer to that one. As a football team, once we get in those situations, we have to maintain that momentum and take advantage of having an advantage, having a lead. We got to extend leads better. So that's part of our emphasis as a football team and where we can grow. We're just steadfast. I went to some bigger personnel groups. I think that was helpful. Some of the schemes that we're trying to get done, I just think that we just stuck to it, and there was a commitment to it, and the guys kept executing, kept running the ball hard, kept trying to finish blocks, and we were able to pop some runs. Yeah, I mean, look, our guys haven't been to Pittsburgh, so I think it's important to, especially having the experience that we've had, like going there in the past, trying to paint them a picture of what it's like and how they operate, and having them understand what type of environment they're getting into. And visualization is really, I believe it's really powerful. So try to use that to your advantage. But yeah, I mean, we did that, but I wouldn't make it more than it is. It's really just trying to get them ready to go play a game. Our guys are playing really hard. I think our details and execution improved from week 1 to week 2, which is a positive trend, something we could keep going. And I think the message to our guys is, look, it's on tape. The standard of how we want to be is how we want to be, and it's non-negotiable, and that's the expectation on how we need to play moving forward. But the guys are determined. They understand that there's plenty of room for growth, and it's early. And I think they also understand what it takes to play great football, and that's the preparation you do in the off season, the connection you build with your teammates, being able to kind of live through some of the storms you're going to get, whether it be through injuries or things that happen in games, and play great situational football when the time comes. So we understand the standard. We're trying to nail the process right now.
Yeah, quite a bit there, Ethan. But when you look at Mike McDonald, attention to detail, and then the process, and I'll use this example. What he was referring to was the Stick song "Renegade," and he knew from his time with Baltimore, that when they play that song, it changes the atmosphere of the stadium. I mean, to have that attention to detail, what comes to your mind when you think about Mike McDonald, the leader and the communicator?
Yeah, we were in the locker room talking to players, and a lot of them, we were asking about how did Spoon being out affect the team, and you guys were able to overcome that. And they all said 12 is 1, which is, one thing that Mike McDonald preaches. And it's really cool to see this team really embrace the identity of their coach and the culture that he's instituting here with the Seahawks in just his second year. And it seems like there's a lot of buy-in with these guys, because it really, for this team to be successful, they really need to be 12 as 1. You don't have a star player on this team. You have a lot of very good players. And as as a collective, they're better than the sum of their parts, right? And that's what we saw on the defensive side of the ball, with the defensive line supporting the secondary, supporting the linebacker play. I mean, it's all connected, So I just really enjoy the players, taking what Mike Macdonald is saying, not just letting it go one ear and out the other, but actually embracing it. And that's what they're giving credit to, is being 12-1 and actually embracing that identity.
Yeah, his ability to lay the foundation in terms of we're going to weather some storms, I think is the bedrock of all of that. Now he was, because remember last year, I mean, he made a move at linebacker midstream. I mean, non-negotiable, and then he brought in Ernest Jones, and obviously, and lived happily ever after game 2 in the NFL, right? It's a long season. The run game, he talked a little bit about that. What are you seeing in the run game in terms of buy-in? Let's start with the running backs and then the offensive line.
Yeah, well, over the offseason, we talked to Abe Lucas, and he was like, people were asking him what makes this year different, and it was like, the run game is a non-negotiable, right? It's not just word vomit. We actually go out and we practice what they're talking about. So it's cool to see that is the committed identity of this offensive scheme. And, running. I think it starts with the offensive line and the push that they were able to get, the space they were to make for Ken Walker. But how much concern was there after week 1 that Ken Walker was, his foot's not healthy? Is he ever going to be as explosive as he was? How much concern within the fan base was there? And then that just completely goes out the window, after his week 2 performance. Just 13 carries, getting to 105 yards, and just having the impact that he had. Zach Charbonnet played more snaps, so I think they are keeping, Ken's foot at the forefront of their mind, just being cautious with him, making sure they get him through an entire season. But that's the benefit of having a Zach Charbonnet, is you've got a special player in Ken Walker, one of the more explosive players in the entire league. And you're able to have a guy behind him in Zach Charbonnet who's great in pass protection, who's a different change of pace type of back, similar to what the Lions have with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, to where you don't need to go out there and play Ken Walker 85% of the snaps. You have a trusted guy in Zach Charbonnet, and he didn't have his best game on the ground, but it felt like similar to in week 1, how Charbonnet might have been getting some better blocking than Walker did in the snaps that they were in. It sort of felt like there were a lot more holes opened up for when Ken Walker was in than Charbonnet. I don't know how that works. I feel like it's just sort of coincidence that it works out that way. But the running back play was incredible. The offense there was more play action. I feel like that sort of opens it up a little bit more too. And that starts with getting more yards on the ground. And Ken Walker was a big part of that in week 2.
Yeah, when they scored fourth quarter, the 31-17, look at the play list here. They go Charbonnet left, no gains. Charbonnet up the middle for 1 yard. And then Darnold to A.J. Barner for 19 yards. And then so past the middle, you go back to Charbonnet for no gain. And then Sam Darnold gets sacked. So it's 3rd and 19. And you bring in Ken Walker. And so then I think to your point, you kind of soften up the middle, and they might expect. So then your play is you go the other side for the game-winning touchdown. Thoughts on Clint Kubiak's play calling?
Yeah, that 3rd and 19, the 3rd and goal from the 19, you're running toss to the near side. You're on the left hash, and somehow Ken Walker and I don't know if you saw Gray Zabel. He is down at the 2-yard line making a block. I thought the effort was incredible from the offense. Clint Kubiak play calling specifically, I thought it was a lot better. I think there was still a little bit left to be desired. The 4th and 1 play call when he goes play action results in the interception, leads to the Steelers' only touchdown of the entire game. I would have loved to see them. I don't know. It might have been. I saw a lot of people calling for the tush push there with Barner, but it might have been a little bit too far out to go there. I'm not completely sold that was the right decision. I thought just run the ball. I mean, you're this running team. The Steelers got gashed on the ground last week against the Jets. You saw that you had a lot of effectiveness, this week in that game. Go run the ball. It's 4th and 1. You say you want to go run the ball and you run play action. I think maybe week 6, week 7, after you establish that as your identity, not just to yourselves, but to the entire league, then you can get cute like that and run play action. I didn't love that play call specifically, but I thought for the most part, if I had to give it a grade, I'd give Kubiak probably a B+. I thought his mix of play action was a lot better, and I thought he was a lot better about taking the training wheels off of Sam Darnold. It felt like last week the game plan was more so for a rookie quarterback that you're trying to protect, not a former number 3 overall pick who went and won 14 games last year for the Minnesota Vikings. And I know there's limitations to Sam Darnold's game, and we saw that in the interception to where he was trying to get to Cooper Kupp. Jalen Ramsey picked him off, but I thought Sam Darnold played an incredible game, and you got to give some credit to Clint Kubiak, allowing him the opportunity to go out and make some plays in the passing game.
Yeah. Okay. So Darnold plays well. What did you think of Cooper Kupp?
Yeah.
What was the difference in week 1, week 2 there, Ethan?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Darnold was just looking for him more. I didn't go back and watch the tape in week 1, but the play that everybody was talking about was Nick Bosa's strip sack, and people pointed out that Cooper Kupp was open on that in breaking route. It's probably a touchdown, to be honest, if Darnold's getting that ball out on time and accurately to Kupp there. They did a much better job of getting Cooper Kupp involved, and it was a lot more in the quick passing game. Across the middle, Cooper Kupp doing a good job of finding the soft spot in the zone. And then what stood out to me was his yards after catch. He's catching the ball. He's making a quick move and getting upfield quickly, and maximizing those yards after the catch. I thought it was vintage Cooper Kupp for me. And he wasn't even the Seahawks' best receiver. You got JSN as well. So you got both those guys working. The Seahawks offense, the ceiling goes way up from what we thought it was going to be.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for weathering the storm with the technical difficulties on this. And he's Ethan McReynolds. And so honored to have you. And maybe we can bring you back again sometime. Thanks, Ethan. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you, Moss. Thanks.
All right. And with that, we're going to go on break. And because it's break time. So this is Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Asvita Mara-Ere.
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but
Paul Pearson, host of Star Time, and this is my real voice. Honest. You're hearing it on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Should have told her you were sorry.
Stay safe in the heat this summer. On hot days, more people have serious health issues like heat stroke, heart problems, and kidney failure. People who are pregnant, older adults, children, and outdoor workers are more at risk. Certain medications and health conditions like diabetes can make it harder to cope with them. Check with your healthcare provider. Stay cool, drink plenty of water, and take breaks from the heat, especially if you work outdoors. This is a message from Public Health, Seattle, King County.
Hello, listener. What's important to you about what's going on in your community? Are you interested? Are you concerned? In any case, I invite you to tune into my show, Seattle Here and Now, on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Why? I will be covering a wide range of topics important to you and impacting the community. Each show will have a special guest or guests to share with you information on a variety of subjects that are happening here and now in Seattle. I promise I will work hard to make my show informative, interesting, and entertaining. Be sure to listen to Seattle Here and Now on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Kung gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at yung local Filipino community, Phil Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in, Phil Radio, every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Rainier Avenue RainierAvenueRadio.world.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Generational wealth. Generational wealth. Generational wealth. What is generational wealth? We asked our communities, and this is what they had to say.
Black generational wealth. For a long time, that's been a dream that needs to see reality. For hundreds of years, Black people have been in the United States and have suffered for it. We built this country, but have not yet really seen the dream come alive and what that means for Black people and people of color. This is going to take some time and some work and a lot of sacrifice, but people of color have always done that, and so it won't be any different. You don't need to do it alone, and you don't need to do it alone, because this is a community work project. It's going to take some rigor. It'll take a change in mindset for individuals and the community and the nation at large. This won't be simple, but that's okay. Nothing that's good or worthwhile is ever really simple.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update. You can listen to us in your car 24/7 anytime by downloading the free TuneIn app. Once you do, search Rainier Avenue Radio. And remember, do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update.
All right, we are back on Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Ethan McReynolds. We got a fun conversation with Ethan McReynolds. To try to bring him back. And that's what happens. As I said, that is someone that is one of the best here in the Seattle sports business, or broadcast business, if you will, TV. I'll even go that far. And then also, as you could tell, a really amazing person, just a real stand-up guy. And as I said, it's an honor when you're covering sports, and there's a few of these people you can, in the heat of the battle, and you can get information, but also have good, just real wholesome conversation. It's I think something Brian Smetzer said to me one time. He said, "Hey, it's not all wine and roses out there. So I know you all that think, oh man, when you're covering sports, it's all fun. But no, there's those moments in there, and it's nice to have people you can have a chat with. Also, so I switch back now. As I said, do or die game tonight for the Seattle Storm as they take on the Las Vegas Aces in game 2 of their best of 3 WNBA first round. So, and that game is tonight. And the Climate Pledge, 6:30. I would think that game is sold out if you haven't had your ticket. But I don't know. Check all the different venues where you get your tickets from and see if they're there. Big game for the Storm. They got boat raced in game 1, and it was it was over. The score was 102-77. And Coach Noel Quinn was looking for a fast start from her team. That's what you have to do in the best of 3. Game 1 is the one. I think you have a better chance of stealing if you are, the underdog there. And so to steal that game 1, you have, especially as I said, in a 3-game series, best of 3. So you have to come out on the front foot in that game 1. I mean, you have to be ready and from the get-go, and you got to, hit the bully, punch them first, and hopefully that they swagger a little bit, step back. But no, it was actually the reverse that happened. And that is Vegas. When you're the home team, you're coming out and you're going, you know what, let's get this out. We got the home crowd. They're cheering us on. Concert-like atmosphere. Stars are there, filled to the rafters, the whiteout game. So, bam. Vegas 12-5 run, and they just really never looked back. And part of that, I think that, I don't know why the Storm were surprised, but Vegas came out with stifling defense. And when they came out with that defense, the Storm weren't able to get in transition, which is what the Storm like to do. And also, part two of that equation is that Vegas then kind of clogged the middle. And Aces did, and then forced the Storm to shoot from the outside. So now you've got a team that's not that great, the Storm. I mean, they get a lot of points inside the paint, but part of that is because they're running, on the wings there, and then get the ball inside. But that just didn't happen. Vegas just caused early turnovers by the Storm, which then was compounded by a lack of shooting. The Storm just couldn't hit anything, and in the end, they were, as I said, they were easily defeated by the Aces. And so so the question is then, can the Storm overcome the Aces? Yes. I think they have to start, just kind of the flip the script in the formula I just gave, in terms of the Storm have to start out quick. They have to get out and run, and then make shots. They got to make their shots, and it's the Storm that needs to play the defense. It's the Storm that has to knock off Asia Wilson, off, her blockers. Wilson, amazing. Asia, one of the best athletes, best basketball players out there right now, and she had her way. And as the Storm, for the Storm to be able to change that narrative, they have to get Ezzy Magbor going to the basket. They have to get Brittany Stykes going. They have to get, NECA's going to be there. But I think Gabby Williams, she played better last game, but I think she has to really get her shot on. And then she has to be out in transition. Because she's the one. Now, I get it. Skylar Diggins is the head of the snake, and she's the one that's going to come out there and stop the Vegas bringing the ball up there and make them feel uncomfortable. But when Skylar's bringing the ball down, if Gabby Williams fills those lanes, then I think that's critical. That's how you can make the difference in terms of that. Make the Aces play defense. So, yeah, they're going to need a big game. They're going to have the best game of their careers, all of them. I mean, Ezzy, Brittany, Sykes, but they have to show up. I think Skylar will be there. I think NECA's going to be there. But you're going to need Gabby Williams, as I said, to go out there. And, she had 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, which I think were good. If she can have a repeat performance, you probably need more rebounds from her. And NECA had 11 points. You need her to get to the last time they had played. You need NECA to kind of hit that 17, 18 mark. And Ezzy had 2 points. Obviously, that's not going to be enough. Then had 1 block. So if she can get you 8, 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 6, you need to do about 6 or 7 blocks. And Sykes just didn't show up. She had no points. She had 2 rebounds. And she had finished the regular season second in NBA in clutch points and third in clutch field goals. And so they did a real good job of taking her out of the game. And Skylar Diggins at 12 points. Again, you need them to go kind of 16, 18 points. And again, if they're running the Stormer and making the Aces uncomfortable, then I think you've got a real good chance. And it's going to be fever pitch atmosphere there. So, the game's going to be on ESPN. It's nationwide, national television. So, all right. So there you go. And I think the other one big thing coming up is also the Seattle Sounders play Miami into Miami today, and it's kind of a rematch of the Club World Cup, where the Sounders basically embarrassed the into Miami, Lionel Messi and company, and so as I said at the top here, there's this thing about is this going to be a big match? Um, it is, but you can't go back and replay the Club World Cup. So look, Miami's going to come in, and they definitely want to set a tone. They can't win the trophy, but um, they want to prove a point. They have the world's arguably one of the best players ever, if not the best, in Lionel Messi, and who was, you know, under. I mean, they did a good job. Obed Vargas as well as Christian Roldan did a good job in that middle. Now they got help, but they really, really kept Messi in check. Even the start of the second half there. If Messi scores that goal, maybe things are different. They are different. Um, but there's plenty to play for, and I think for the Sounders, they've got a chance to. If they win this game, they could possibly clinch a playoff spot. And LAFC beating withdrawn Real Salt Lake would be the other scenario. So I think it's both teams they have something to play for, and again, the Sounders, they're playing with house money, and they just have to play their game. But they're coming off a disappointing 2-2 draw with LA Galaxy at home, so they've got something to prove to themselves as well, and that is the rebound. They have to rebound this because they've got another game on Saturday, so they've got to rebound from that game in which they had a 2-goal lead and then they give it up. It's really important for them to be able to, as I said, move on. And in Miami, the same thing. So it's should be a interesting game. It's a must watch, and I know some of you have to kind of watch that game and then, you know, um, at the same time, watch 2 hours later, switch over to the Storm game. So there is kind of your sports in the afternoon. What do I think? I think the Sounders will show up. I'm thinking Brian Smetzer will shuffle his lineup here. Pedro de la Vega didn't play, sat out, knew who came on late. So I'd look for those two to play. And, I think Alex Rodan will start. And as I said, the 6 and the 8 in C. Rodan, Christian Rodan, Obed Vargas, and probably, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he starts Albert Rusnak, but Jesus Ferrer will start. And you probably Danny Masovsky will start up front. And Paul Rothrock there. And it'll be interesting to see if he starts Reed Baker, Whiting, or Nuhu there. But either way, I think Yamar and Jackson Reagan will start there. So, as I said, Alex Rodan on the other one. So there you go. A big test for the Sounders, big test for Miami in a big game. So there we go. Now the other it's not happening today. Other big event coming up is this weekend in terms of the University of Washington football team. The Huskies will now travel. They will be involved in the Apple Cup game, and it's their first after bye week. They will head over to Pullman and try to exact revenge, bring the trophy back. And I mean, it wasn't pretty last year, just in terms of the game was here at Lumen Field, and it was played neutral site, if you will. But yeah, it just wasn't real pretty in terms of the Huskies in that game. So what we're going to do, as we like to do, is get a preview, talk a little Husky football, and we will bring on Andrew Bailey, who covers the Huskies for CascadiaSports.net. Andrew, what's going on?
Oh, the Huskies are ready for their matchup with the Cougars this weekend. I'll tell you that.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay. So
absolutely. They're refreshed from this bye week and they're ready to go. They are excited.
Well, okay, but so I guess that's what the coach speak. What did you hear from Coach Speak yesterday?
Well, he says they have a good game plan in all three phases: special teams, offense, defense, all that. They like where they're at as far as the discipline of their team. Because last year the big issue was they had 135 yards worth of penalties and on 16 penalties. So this week, they feel they're good so far where they're at this season. They're only averaging 5 penalties a game, and they only have, one personal foul that was a face mask. It was on an effort play. So they feel they're not going to commit those same, kind of silly penalties that they had last year against the Cougars, which really hurt them. Particularly at the end of the game, they kind of lost a little bit of composure, had 3 offsides fouls, which was, according to Jed Fish, was insane. They can't let that happen again. So
what
what
did Jed Fish say yesterday about that? I know you asked him that question. What exactly was his answer?
It was just, avoiding the dumb penalties. Don't react emotionally. Come out and play our game the way we've been playing, is what he said. They want to go out and play the game that they've been playing. They like where they are. They're on track to not committing fouls if they continue to do what they've done in the previous 2 games against UC Davis and Colorado State. They feel they're comfortable and confident that they're not going to commit those same issues, same mistakes. And then also, it's a homecoming, if it were, of sorts for Tariq Buda Al-Yakuta, because he played for WSU last year, and now he's playing on the other side of the rivalry. He's playing for the Huskies, and he's talked to him a little bit about that, gauging where his emotions are, and the conversation is about he's a Husky now, and it's just kind of one of those things, with the transfer portal and everything, it's a different age and era of college football, and kind of just his having to adjust and adapt, and he's adapted really well to the Huskies so far this season. Has had a really good performance.
Fair enough. I mean, it's an interesting position for a young man there, and like you said, the transfer portal kind of makes those things. I mean, it's kind of commonplace these days. In terms of the rivalry game, now Fish was asked about second time this year. This is second year of the Apple Cup, but last year was the first. Did he talk about what lessons were learned last year? And what can he take that into this game?
Yeah, so Fish really said that last year he wasn't used to what the Apple Cup really means. I mean, he'd had other opportunities to coach in rivalry games, both as an assistant and as a head coach. He had a little bit of experience coaching in the Arizona State rivalry game. But until, he had the alumni come and talk, about the Apple Cup, he had Lawyer Malloy and a couple others come in last year, talk to the team and him about what it's like coaching in the Apple Cup and all that stuff. It really didn't hit him until he was actually coaching in the game, the emotions of the game and what it means and all that. And the first year of him coaching, he just felt, overall that, the emotions after the game, when they were in the locker room and guys were in tears and, had that kind of bitter taste in their mouth after losing the game, and having to look at the empty trophy case, throughout the year where the Apple Cup trophy typically is, that kind of has served as motivation to win the Apple Cup this year for sure.
Now, in terms of preparing, you might have to turn down your speaker a little bit there. Just in terms of preparing for the Apple Cup, what unique challenge does the Cougars present in terms of they have 3 quarterbacks that possibly could play, or which one do you prepare for?
They have a game plan for each one of them, it sounds like. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I know. I said, wait, what? How do you prepare for 3 quarterbacks?
I know, right? I think there's one in particular that they have a little bit of a different game plan for. They didn't say which one. They're really playing things close to the vest, so I don't know which one it is, but one of them they really have a particular game plan because they have a particular skill set that's different than the others. I think last week the Cougars had Jackson Potter starting. He threw 3 interceptions, and then they went to a couple different guys. Eckhouse ended up closing out the game. A lot of people thought Eckhouse was going to be the starter going into this season because he's a senior and he had played in the bowl game last year, but it appears they're going with Potter because they're a younger team, and I don't know, maybe it's just the Cougars feel they're rebuilding in a sense, and maybe they want to give the younger quarterback an opportunity in Potter. I don't know if that's the case, but the Huskies certainly had experience with that last year when they were rotating quarterbacks back and forth between Rogers and Damon Williams. So I think in that sense, the Cougars are kind of in a similar position as a team because they have a new coach, new quarterbacks, and they have a whole bunch of transfers. So they're kind of trying to figure out who they are in a sense going into the weekend. And so, yeah, preparing for 3 quarterbacks is a bit of a challenge, but I believe that they believe, Ryan Walters and Jed Fish have talked about this, throughout the week, what to do for each quarterback, and they feel comfortable with where they're at.
And then, fair enough. What about the Huskies offense? I mean, they obviously against UC Davis racked up John Coleman 24 carries. Colorado State, I'm sorry, 24 carries, 177 yards rushings. What do you expect from the Huskies in terms of the run game here?
As far as the run game, they're fine with the run game. Every one of their running backs will be good to go. Jonah Coleman has led the way, 7 touchdowns so far this year. He's gone over 100 yards in each of the first 2 games. What they really need to do is they need to figure out, okay, who are our second and third weapons in the receiving game? Because now they lost Rashid Williams, one of their wide receivers who was starting to make an impact, and now they have to look at some of the younger freshmen like Desmond Roebuck and Raiden Vinesbright. So they're kind of figuring out what that's going to be. And then Omari Evans, there's a good chance Omari Evans comes back this week. He's missed the first 2 games. He was the big transfer they got from Penn State. So getting him involved would be good if he plays, and I think he will play from what Fish said, because they need to have a different guy other than Denzel Boston that they can give, a look to, especially as they head into next week against Ohio State, because running the football against Colorado State, UC Davis, and potentially Washington State, I would say, they'll probably have really good success against them, but against teams like Ohio State, some of these bigger Big Ten teams, they're going to have to be able to throw the football. And so getting some of these other weapons involved in the offense, like Vinesbright, Roebuck, Evans, and also they actually are going to start, it sounds like Kevin Green could be a starter this week too. So those things they need to look at.
So they're looking to diversify their offense. Your point, they've got obviously number 1 running back there. They look trying to get some depth in there, and then in that they will try to establish some type of a passing game, but be interesting to see if they do go to that, because sometimes when you're playing one game and you got a big game, not to look forward, to look past your opponent, you might kind of close your playbook down, as opposed to, letting Ohio State, who has scouts, or know kind of which way you might go. So it sounds like an interesting affair. I know you're going down there, and then we'll look forward to hearing your report on Tuesday on kind of the experience down there, and obviously a game report. All right, thank you, Andrew. Thanks for hopping on. And so he's Andrew Bailey. So he's got a CascadiaSports.net is where you can get his stuff. And then we are now, time's up. It's amazing how the time goes. All right. So for Seattle Sports Weekly, I'm Osfida Maria for CascadiaSports.net. This is Seattle Sports Weekly. Thank you. Thanks, D Money. Thanks, everybody, for listening.